On today's Toy Spot, we're going to be having a look at the DC Direct Superman the Last Sun, and today we're looking at Ursa. And I'll say more about it when I open the package up, but unfortunately Ursa suffers the same fate as General Zod. Unless you really followed the comics, you'd probably be less inclined to want to pick this particular figure up. We'll get into that though when we get that open up. On the back of the package, the other figures in this wave, we've got Zod, we've got Ursa, we've got Superman, and we've got Bizarro. And the read-up on Ursa says, a hater of all men other than General Zod, Ursa emerges from the Phantom Zone ready for revenge against Superman, even if it means exploiting her own son. And the figures come from the pages of the best-selling Last Sun storyline from Action Comics, written by Richard Donner and Jeff Johns, designed by Adam Kubert. So let's get this package open up. Let's have ourselves a look at Ursa, and we'll see what we think of the figure. Stay tuned, guys. Stay tuned. Due to the figure being so heavily posed in one position, I've got her currently on the display stand that she comes with. The display stand, however, is the same Superman S that came with the other three figures as well. And I said it already, but as one of the best aspects to this line, as sad as it is the fact that you get these really cool Superman S logo stands. We'll put that aside here. Let's have a look at Ursa. And as I mentioned, she is pre-posed. You can move her legs and her knees and everything else, but she does have a pre-posed stance to her. As a display though, she actually does look nice, and I like the way that she's posed. Certainly, she's not really for playing, and as an action figure she might be a little more disappointing, but as a display piece she does look nice. Sporting the same colors, the same costume really as General Zod. Ursa is interesting. It is a nice figure. And unfortunately, really, the only strike, again, I can give to it, and I won't say it too much in this review because I said so much about it in the Zod review, but just the one problem with this figure is just the fact that unless you read the comics, unless you really like the look of Ursa and Zod, you might not have picked up these figures. And I think of all of them, I think Ursa actually sat the most. There was more of Ursa's than there were of Zod's back when I did get these figures. And just for the sake of... Actually, you know what? Before we do that, I'll go through the articulation. Very strange, this line. She has a ball-jointed head, something of which General Zod actually didn't have, and Superman didn't have, but Bizarro had. Very strange that they couldn't have just given them all ball-jointed heads. She has the ball-jointed shoulders, not limited as much as what the Zod was, just due to the fact of the way her jacket sits. But she does have a jointed elbow. Rotate the hand. No articulation from the neck down to her legs, but she does have the legs bend. You can also bend at the knees. No articulation in the feet area, just due to the way that the pants are actually sculpted into her shoes. Now actually I'll put her on her display stand because I just want to mention something before I quickly wrap this review up. There's not really going to be much to be said in this review, but if I bring in General Zod here, again, one of the biggest issues to be had with these two particular figures is just, again, the fact that if you haven't read the story, some people didn't read Last Sun. It was a good story, but some people just didn't read it. Therefore, those people wouldn't have gone out and picked up these figures. So DC Direct does a lot of things really well. The sculpt does really well. The designs are done really well. But being that a lot of their figures are based on comic storylines, if those collectors have not read that story or they don't like the design, they would not pick up these figures. And that's the only reason why these figures just did not sell. Because really, that being aside, the figures are quite nice. They are quite nice. And it's a shame because you can't fault the figure. It's designed well, it's painted very well, and sculpted quite beautifully. But if you just don't have the invested interest, it might be a pass for a toy. Ursa here, I'm gonna give her a 6. She's great, and she is nice as a display piece, especially with having the two of them together. But if you didn't read the comics, you might have just passed on it completely. And there she fell. You might have just passed on her completely. So with that, I'm going to wrap this up here. I'll actually move Zod back out of the way. And on today's toy spot, I'll pick her back up. Today's toy spot, we had a look at Ursa. Not a real big selling line, but at least if you can find yourself the Superman, that probably is the best way to go. These figures, you might pass, but they are nice. I mean, they are definitely nice. But that was a toy spot. Today we're looking at the DC Direct. Let me put her back down. We're having a look at the DC Direct, and she's going to fall. The Superman Last Son, and we were looking at Ursa. And I'll see you guys next time. Later.